Hey, what's up, rock stars? It's Rox coming to you today with the review for Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 14, episode 4. You guys, I know I'm so behind. I am so sorry. I hate that I'm posting this. What is this, Wednesday? It came on Sunday. Hopefully you guys still remember what happened on the show. Anyway, the review, let's get to it, shall we? All right, you guys, so the show opens with Marlo at a lot in, I think it said, did it say Decatur? Or did it say Decula? No, it didn't say Decula. I think it said Decatur. I was like, oh, okay, Marlo. She's meeting with her builder, looking at a lot that she's purchased, and she's going to be building a home there. It's like, okay, Miss Marlo, I guess it's time to move out the townhome. So she's invited Sheree and Kenya there. I was like, oh, you and Kenya, huh? Okay, they ain't even going to worry about, you know, the Marlo's event and Kenya talking bad about it. She invites them because they both built their house from the ground up. Okay, and she's hoping that they can give her some pointers so she can learn more from their successes and not repeat their mistakes. So, you know, the builder has the plans laid out and they're looking at them. Kenya's looking at everything. The house looks like it's a nice size. And Kenya was like, wait a minute, your closet is bigger than your bedroom? And she was just like, yeah, like, of course. As a matter of fact, she got big closets, and I think she has 3 big closets in the house. She was like, I don't need no big old room for, you know, me just to be sleeping in. Her clothes needs to make sure that they have a proper place to be. Well, Kenya and Sheree say they like it. They can tell by the plans that it's really nice. They asked the guy if he's built this plan before, and he said no. So I'm not sure if Marlo has, this is something new that was drawn up, or if he, you know, she's just made a lot of changes to an existing plan or what, but okay. Oh, his name was Patrick, you guys. Patrick has his work cut out for him because Marlo seems like she is going to be quite the demanding customer. When he leaves, both Kenya and Sheree are teasing her like, how is Miss Buckhead? How is Miss Buckhead moving all the way to Decatur and not living in Buckhead? And she was just like, I am Miss Buckhead, but I can't afford Buckhead. And they were just like, well, I mean, you guys, you always talking about all this money you got. And she was just like, no, you guys are always saying, like, where did I get my money from? Yeah, she ain't said shit about being rich. That's y'all. And Kenya was like, oh, at your event, all you talked about was your money and having this big event and this gala and blah, 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 blah. Marlo was about to get upset, and Kenya was just like, don't be like that, you know, chill out, all right? And Marlo was like, you're right. You're right. I like when you compliment me. Okay, take these compliments, Marlo. You ain't got to be shady all the time. So they say they both like the house. Now we're all going to New York, remember, to go see Kandi's play. And so they asked Kenya, are you going to see Mark in New York? And she was just like, you know what, I really don't know. Okay, what about you, Sheree? Are you going to see Tyrone? And she was just like, well, yeah, it looks like that he really wants to come. So, you know, he wants to meet the girls and, you know. So she was like, yeah, he's making arrangements to make it on out to New York. And they're like, what? We get to tear Tyrone apart. Well, how do you feel about Drew coming, Sheree? And Sheree was just like, you know, she's not going to worry about Drew. Drew just wants drama in her life. Okay, she's one of them people that just get off on this kind of thing. Sheree can't even stud her. And they were like, yeah, and, you know, and they all agree. You know, Sheree was just like, she overtalks you. She just does it too much. And Kenya was like, yeah, I was very disappointed when she was coming for you, you know, and trying to talk over you and everything. That is Drew's strategy. Okay. But yeah, like I said, Sheree, she ain't worried about Drew. She can handle her. Don't worry. Now, speaking of Drew, we see Drew and Ralph at the house. They're getting ready for a counseling session. Okay. And before they're getting ready, they've got all these assistants all over the house. I have no idea why we need 4 assistants. But I don't know what Ralph does, but she says that Ralph needs to have an assistant. And then I'm not understanding what 3 other assistants is for. And one of those assistants is still Anthony. Now, wasn't Anthony supposed to be on probation? Anthony said that the husband was gay, right? Okay, well, I don't know what kind of probation he's on, considering he's still working there. Child, whatever. Okay. So anyway, they have the counselor come over to the house and they sit down, and she says that it's been pretty bad, after they had that last date and that date night went bad, he packed up his shit and moved to the kids' room and he's been sleeping in there. So, she knows that things is bad. So they've got to get this handled. So we start. So how's everything been going? And Drew says, well, you know what? Ralph set up this beautiful dinner the other night. He was like, okay, well, Ralph, why did you do it? And he says, I wanted her to feel like a queen. But Ralph feels like she didn't appreciate the shit. And he thought that, he shouldn't even have did it because he was trying to be thoughtful and she just complained the whole time and she didn't appreciate what he did. And, Ralph was getting in his feelings immediately. Any woman would want a lobster and steak dinner, and she was just like, who gives a fuck about a lobster and a steak dinner when we still have issues? Like, that's the whole thing. You think that you do something like give a bitch a piece of seafood and some meat, and now we all good. Okay, the issues are still there. And so she don't feel like any of that is real. Like, we just having a fantasy night and then the problems be back, as soon as we leave there. So so they quickly get into an argument. Then the doctor kind of cuts them off. Yes, Drew and Ralph have problems. Okay, they bring up the whole maniac thing. I guess this is the doctor that said that he was the maniac. Ralph still feeling some kind of way about that. But the doctor was just like, do you realize that you guys attack each other when you talk to each other? And I guess, no, they don't realize it because they too busy attacking. Well, the doctor tells them, okay, I got a project for you guys. I got an assignment for you. For the next 30 days, you guys will not have any combative conversation. Okay, no arguments, no yelling at each other, no antagonizing each other, none of that. Okay, and if either one of you guys do start an argument, then that person has to be basically like a slave to the other person for 24 hours. Okay. And, they're both kind of looking. Drew ain't really looking like she gonna want to do this. And the doctor was like, I mean, if you don't want to do it, then, don't mess up. You know that you got this whole slave thing for 24 hours. Serving, I should say. So just try to make sure that you guys don't argue with each other. Drew says that she wants her marriage to work, so she's going to commit to this. Dr. Ken reminds them that they need to be sensitive to each other's emotions, okay? Both of them, all right? Realize what the other person is feeling and, try to look at things from their viewpoint, all right? So let's see if these two can do it. Now, jumping over to your girl Kandi and Todd. So they're walking in the neighborhood and, they're talking about the play. She's bringing her friends to the play. Remember, Kandi said, my job is getting butts and seats. The ticket sales apparently were picking up for the play, but, they were still in the red. So they've got to get ways to make sure that they make their money off of this play. So, Kandi came up with inviting the girls to New York, and actually the girls are all going to bring their spouses. All right. So the men are coming. The ladies act better when the men are around. They straighten up. While they're walking, Todd still wants to go by the New Jersey place. And you guys know how Kandi feels about it. That's his spot with another woman. Like, I don't want to go over there. But Todd is trying to get her to understand. Like, listen, we can fix it up the way that we want. All right. It doesn't have to have the feelings of the old relationship. We can fix it up how we want. And so when we come into town, we can stay there and it's real nice. And Kandi was just like, but when I go to New York, I want to go to a hotel, mess it up and leave and not have to worry about it. And he just can't understand why Kandi can't understand why he wants to keep this place. Todd is like, it should be what both of us want. There needs to be some compromise there. I was like, of course it ain't going to be no compromise because Kandi is king. Okay, I'm the daddy. So, Todd is complaining to her that she ain't trying to see things his way. Kandi says she ain't going to that fucking condo. Now, we getting ready for this trip. Even though Kandi has verbally invited everybody to the trip, well, she has. Look at this. Patrick and Safari. I said, y'all done got downgraded from being stars on a show to walking around as some S&M characters and inviting people to this trip with a gift bag, okay? With Kandi's old nasty ass out there sending out vibrating panties and dildos and whatnots. I ought to be fucking ashamed of yourself. He just standing there looking. I said, oh, okay. So anyway, they go around to everybody's house with this gift bag. Kenya's looking at them like, how about a fucking playbill? Okay. Motherfucker ain't got time for these vibrating ass panties. Okay, motherfucker ain't got time for this damn pasties and, what did she say, balls and mouths? She tells Sheree that Kandi sent that mess, and Marlo and Drew are talking about it. Everybody is just like, that Kandi, child. Just always, honey, no, Kandi is a businesswoman. All of them toys was from her bedroom Kandi. Marlo's just like, what, Kandi need to change her name. But maybe that's just her. I like shopping. She likes sex. That's Kandi's bag. Kandi rents a Sprinter. Make sure that all of the girls will get on the Sprinter and they will go to the airport together to make sure nobody's late, nobody misses their airplane, none of that. Okay, so her and Todd are on the Sprinter van. All the couples start getting there. Drew and Ralph, Sonia and Ross, and then Kenya gets there, and Kenya was like, nobody told me that this was a couples trip. Okay, which I can understand. It is kind of awkward, but I mean, there's 3 single women on the trip too. So it's 3 couples, 3 single women. It's fine. Marlo is single, and so is Sheree. Well, Sheree's not single technically, but her man, he on lockdown in Philly, so. But she was just like, a nigga would have liked to get the memo. And Sheree says it is a little awkward being on the bus with both Drew and Ralph, but oh well, she gonna make it do what it do. It's fine. Once everybody is on the bus and we finally on our way to the airport, Kandi was just like, so how did you guys like my gift the other day? I like to have fun. Everybody was just like, yeah, that was real interesting. Kenya said, girl, ain't nobody got time to be fucking around with these vibrating panties when I'm over here trying to get my baby dressed for school. Anyway, Kandi gives them the itinerary for when they get to New York. Once they get there and I guess get their shit put down, they're gonna go over to Todd's condo. Maybe the girls can help me see where I'm wrong. I have a feeling that there's been so much emphasis on this condo and everything that it's going to be part of the storyline, like maybe Todd, because there's been all of these little hush-hush about Sheree and Marlo saying that Todd is doing something, which I totally don't believe. I mean, in this day and age, you would have to be a fool to already be an established reality show star and think that you can get away with having an affair or doing something. People would tell. Somebody would say something. So, I mean, if he is fucking around, then he deserved to get caught. So, I'm feeling like they're going to incorporate this whole condo situation into that storyline. Anyway, we going by the condo. I was like, what make you think these people want to go to your fucking condo in New Jersey? Of all, like, that ain't even in New York. Like, they don't. But, damn it, Kandi is paying for this trip, it looked like, or at least sponsoring most parts of the trip. So damn it, we going to the condo. So we taking off for the Big Apple. So they get to the hotel and, they get their little food and drinks Kandi has set up, and when they sit down, Sonia's like, see, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, me and Ross, we could travel, now we got Deuce is old enough that we can leave him at home with the sitter or something, that we could just get out and go and be. And he talking about trying to have another baby. Honey, Sonia ain't thinking about having no more babies. I'm sorry to break it to you, Ross. They sit down and Kandi, forever the damn sex dungeon madam. We gonna have a game. You guys have to compete for the penthouse suite. Okay? They always gotta have some fucking game. Now, this game, you got to tell your craziest sex story, okay? So, Marlo goes first, said that she had sex in the zoo, okay? When she keep going on and on, they was like, bitch, you lying, okay? She was like, well, you guys are always thinking I'm doing something, so, she thought she'd come up with something special. Sheree said that she did it in broad daylight at the Ritz-Carlton, right by the pool. Okay, everybody could see. Then Drew and Ralph get to telling the story. Well, Ralph actually get to telling the story about how they was in the DR and they was in the ocean, and they decided to have sex right there in the ocean, okay, with the whales and everything. Whales? Do they even have whales in the thing? Kandi was like, you must have been real far out. Sheree was like, nigga, you can't have no whale up there by the sand. The things are huge. Like, what damn ocean was you at? And then we got all these stories, and then Kenya got to top it off and say that, you know, she gives a very disturbing account of her and Mark hunting for coyotes. I guess it was blood, you know, the blood trail or something that they was following, and they go to this canyon and they have sex, and then they realize it's a coyote there. I was like, girl. Kandi was like, yeah, that story was bullshit, but it was the most fantastic of all of them. So yeah, you win, you know. She's like, thank you, Kandi. All right, so everybody gets their rooms. We don't have to go through all of the rooms and see who got the best and the worst and all of that. Fine. Now, the next morning, we're getting ready for the day. Sonya's getting her makeup done, and, you know, Ross is over there admiring, like, look at my baby. They're going to have her looking good for the day. Okay. She's talking to him about Drew and, you know, the situation with Sheree and how she didn't tell Sheree about the assistant and all of that. And Sonya's having second thoughts about her friendship with Drew. She was just like, she's kind of messy, you know, and if she's messy enough to be with, you know, this Anthony character, maybe she's also as messy as he is. And so now she's not sure if she want to be stuck up under Drew with the messy label. We see Marlo and Sheree, they talking as Marlo's getting her makeup done. You know, we gonna go over to Todd's furnishless house. She don't want to go over to that shit. Nobody really does, but we gotta go. Her and Sheree discuss who's the freakiest of the group. Okay, who do you think? Well, definitely Todd and Kandi are the freakiest, or at least Kandi would be, and she would have you think so. And then maybe Drew and Ralph, okay? And speaking of Drew, we see Drew and Ralph in their room. He's giving her a foot massage, and she was just like, oh, Sheree was being pretty nice to us, don't you think? And he was just like, yeah, I mean, she was cool. Even though Sheree was being a bitch at the party, all right? Now, she apparently had given him just a little bit of piece of the story of what happened at the party, but she did not tell him that Anthony said that he was gay. I was like, girl, wrong move. Do not have your husband be blindsided on this trip, because you best believe that one of these girls is fixing to tell him that Anthony said that he was gay. Y'all try not to be fighting on this trip. I understand she's trying to, you know, step very gingerly. I don't understand why you want to keep somebody around that says something like that about your husband if it's not true anyway. But Anthony is still working for him, so I'm assuming that's probably why she didn't tell her husband, because for whatever reason, she still wants Anthony to work with her. So everybody gets dressed. We get on the Sprinter van, and now we are on our way to Todd's condo. Sheree is still telling us that the streets are talking about Todd and Kandi and that she needs to be cautious and everything. So Sonya is asking her, like, do you feel a certain way when Todd is gone a lot? Like, when he has to travel? And she was just like, well, sometimes, yes, it does sometimes. And Sonya was like, oh, okay, well, I guess that makes sense. Maybe that's why you feeling a little uneasy, kind of some tension about this condo. So Todd is trying to explain to the group his side. Look, I am in Atlanta with Kandi, with her family, in her house. Like, everything that Kandi wants in Atlanta is what we do. Okay, can I please have something of my fucking own? So when we go to New York, why can't we go to New Jersey and stay in my place and fix it up and, you know, do all of that? Like, what is the problem? This is something of his own, just like Kandi wants to be in her own home. But he knows that Kandi is, you know, she's the celebrity. So a lot of times when you're the celebrity and you're used to always getting the attention anyway, you can't even see outside of what you want all the time. Like, you don't care about what everybody else is doing because everybody's already always catering to you, and you got yes people around you, and, you know, people doing things for you and all that. So he was just like, you know, basically she's spoiled. And Kenya co-signs, yes, I can see how Kandi would be spoiled. And Kandi was just like, oh my God. But my thing is this: everything that I do is going to make sure that things that we do together is better. When I go to Chicago to shoot The Chi, I'm doing that, but it's still making everything better for us and helps us do what we want to do. But now it's a problem. And Todd was just like, okay, Kandi. But I mean, the whole thing is, if I blew up and, you know, everything switched around and now I had all of the attention and everything, you would see things differently. You know, Marlo was just like, Todd may blow up, but not without Kandi's money. Poor Todd, he is never gonna live that down. So they get to the condo, and the condo is nice enough. I mean, you know, it looks like it's in a nice enough area, and probably not a place where they would have purchased if, you know, he probably purchased that before he had the money that he has now. But they go in there, and Kenya puts her construction designer hat on, you know, and she's telling them, oh, we can redo the bathroom. That's $10,000, 15 tops. We can do the kitchen. We can demo this and pull this out and change this and add that and elevators and all of this. And everybody was just like, girl, Kenya was like, hire me. I'll get this place together. Nice. It is a nice enough place, and it even is good enough for, you know, his kids. Like when they go up there. I mean, Todd is smart. He doesn't need to get rid of that place, especially now. You guys know what these prices are. He would be a fool to let that go. Yeah, fix it up and rent the hell out of it with them high-ass rent prices like everybody else. And so while Kenya's doing all that, Marlo was like, can you go somewhere with the bootleg contractor, you know? She's over it. Sheree said that she understands that Todd will want to keep it, but this ain't it. Like, she is with Kandi on. She ain't trying to stay there either. And Todd said that he's keeping it because he wants to be able to have something to leave for his kids as well. Okay? I was like, that's right, Todd. You know, Kandi gonna leave her kids all these millions and millions of dollars, and then Todd gonna be like, and here go my little condo. Add that to the millions. That's from your daddy. Todd feels like everybody is on his side. So that's why he knows that he's making the right decision with the condo. But anyway, they leave there and they go to dinner. When Kandi gets there, Kandi was just like, I already got the menu picked out. Okay, and she tells them what the first and the second and the third course is, so we ain't got to sit here. Because Kandi, I think, probably paid for it. So it's just like, let me just, we already got this handled. While they're sitting there at the table, Sonia notices that Kandi doesn't have a ring on. You don't wear a wedding ring? She's like, oh, she just never really wears it, okay? But Todd does wear his wedding ring, okay? Then they look over at Drew and Ralph. They don't have their wedding rings on. Like, why don't you have on your wedding ring? And Drew was like, well, at first I couldn't get it on because, you know, when she was pregnant, she had gained the weight, and then she just never put the ring on after they started having their problems. And then she tells them about the counseling session and how they are on this 30-day, they can't argue, they can't be combative or anything. And, you know, Ralph is sitting there kind of uncomfortable, but she lets everybody know. And this is when it gets bad. So they mentioned his assistant, you know, and he said that he fired the assistant. Drew was just like, she was mad that they even had to deal with the assistant, you know, another woman in the first place. And Ralph was just like, okay, Drew, when are you gonna get over the fact that he had hired this woman? And Kenya was like, well, she gets over it when you reassure her, when she sees that the actions mean that you not fooling around with your fucking assistant. Kenya's actually irritated with, because she's listening to Ralph and Drew down there talk, and she realizes that Ralph has many of the same qualities, if you will, that Mark has. She was like, you know what, Ralph, you remind me so much of Mark. It's crazy. Okay? Basically, the whole gaslighting thing. She was like, you know, you gonna make Drew feel like she's invalidated because he said that Drew sees things one way and then he sees things another way. And Kenya was just like, that's bullshit. You trying to make her think that it didn't happen the way that it did. And then they show flashbacks of Kenya and Mark and the things that Mark used to say to her, you know. And I can appreciate Kenya telling Drew and Ralph this. The whole thing is Kenya didn't do that with Mark when she was with him, okay? So it's like, almost feels like she's taking out her anger on Ralph and kind of wishing that she could have said these things to Mark for whatever reason she couldn't do it. So now Ralph is getting, you know, the doubleness, even though Kenya was right. But Ralph was just like, listen, I didn't go out and intentionally hire a woman with a big butt, you know, to be my assistant. And everybody is just listening to him like he just digs a hole bigger and bigger about himself. Kandi was just like, I don't understand why you wouldn't think that your wife would feel a certain way about this woman. So anyway, Drew and Ralph, they still down there at the end of the table and they talking down there. It's getting a little spirited. I said, now remember what the doctor said. Okay. And Kenya's talking to the rest of the girls on the other end of the table like, I know his type. He's an asshole, just like Mark. Kenya tells Ralph that he's tearing down Drew, you know, and trying to make her feel like she crazy for thinking the way that she did. And, you know, Drew actually tells the producers in the confessional that she appreciates Kenya because this is exactly how she feels. And maybe if he hears it from another person, maybe he'll listen. Men do not like to hear that kind of stuff, especially from another woman, not in a table with a whole bunch of other people around. Like, he is not going to be receptive to this. So everybody's kind of on Ralph, telling him what he does. And then Marlo says, but you know what, Drew, it's you too. Okay, you got your place in this as well. So then everybody's like, oh yeah, Drew, you do. You know, you do a lot too. Like, you can't ever admit when you're wrong. Like the issue with Sheree. Like, you know, you should have admitted that shit was wrong. And Drew was like, well, she don't think that it was wrong. And she don't care, because when somebody is speaking on somebody else's husband in that way, then she has no apologies for nobody. But do you realize that your assistant was the one who originated that statement? And she was just like, yeah, I do realize that, but I don't have any proof. So then Sheree was like, oh, well, I got your proof, girl. Let me show you. Okay. Text message. Picture Anthony sent to Sheree. Anthony sent to Sheree and said, yes, girl, look at this picture. And I even got more scoop. Okay. Like, what do you think this scoop is going to be about? And Ralph doesn't know. Remember, she didn't tell Ralph about what Anthony said. So then Sheree tells him, like, Anthony said that you were gay. And he just was like, oh. And that's where it ended. And I was just like, girl, I told you they was not going to be waiting to tell him. That's your fault for not telling him. Y'all about to get into a fight in this restaurant. All right, you guys, let me get off of here. My lunch is over. Make sure you rate, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'm itsrox. The channel is itsrox. Everything else I do will be in the bottom bar. All right. So I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and I plan on doing the same. Till next time, rock stars. Bye.